Scorpio, a miracle is already unfolding for you, and tomorrow, September 28th, marks the exact moment heaven moves on your behalf. This is not just a date on the calendar. It is a divine appointment, a sacred turning point, divinely orchestrated to shift your path toward restoration, protection, and peace. This video isn't about wishful thinking or vague predictions. It's about recognition. Recognition of the signs you've already seen, the whispers you've already felt, and the prayers you thought were unanswered. If you felt a subtle pressure in your chest, an intuitive nudge, or a quiet knowing that change is near, this message is for you. It's not coincidence that you arrived here. You were guided. On September 28th, powerful cosmic alignments surround your sign. The moon gently trines Neptune, inviting spiritual clarity. Pluto, your ruling planet, recently turned direct, signaling release and rebirth. The veil is thinner now. This is sacred timing. The invisible is being revealed, and what once felt withheld is now finding its way back to you. Have you noticed repeating numbers 11 verses 11 and 111, or even 928? Heard lyrics that seem to answer the questions you've been carrying? Smelled a fragrance that brings someone you love vividly to mind? These are not accidents. These are divine echoes. God speaks in the patterns. Angels guide through symbols. And your spirit is already translating it all. Scorpio, this is not the time to doubt or withdraw. This is the time to open, receive, and remember who walks beside you, seen and unseen. You are not alone in this journey. You are being surrounded, held, and reminded, your breakthrough is near. Here at Miracle of the Sign, we don't just explore astrology. We connect the cosmic with the sacred. We listen for divine messages carried through stars and scripture. And today, I am simply here to remind you, you are right on time. What you're stepping into tomorrow has been divinely prepared, not rushed, not delayed, but delivered in perfect alignment. Pause with me. Inhale deeply. Feel the air enter not just your lungs but your heart. Now quietly ask yourself, do I sense an invitation from the divine? If your answer is yes, even if it trembles, I invite you to write this in the comments. I receive my miracle on September 28th as a divine work of God. Writing this isn't just interaction. It's an act of trust. It's a way of anchoring your readiness in the physical world. A spiritual agreement between your faith and the future you've been waiting for. Allow me to take a sacred moment to thank you. Your presence here means more than you know. Every like, every comment, every shared moment is part of a spiritual ecosystem that sustains this channel. You are not just passing through, you are helping this message reach those who need it most. Thank you for walking this path with us. And trust me, Scorpio, you'll want to stay with me until the very last breath of this message. Because what is being revealed today is deeply personal, divinely timed, and designed to prepare your soul for the next chapter. What's ahead is not theoretical. It is real. It is written. And it is already on the way. So let's begin. Scorpio, the energy of September 28th isn't just written in the stars, it breathes through every particle of your existence. This moment isn't about change that you force or chase. It's about transformation that arrives quietly, yet undeniably, like morning light slipping through a curtain before you even realize the sun has risen. The astrology of this day tells a sacred story, one that speaks directly to your soul's readiness, your resilience, and your role in the greater cosmic design. The moon forms a harmonious trine to Neptune, dissolving boundaries between reality and intuition, between what is seen and what is deeply felt. This alignment does not simply make you dream, it helps you believe again in the dreams that once felt forgotten. Your inner knowing becomes sharper, but not louder. It becomes a whisper, not a shout. The kind of whisper that echoes through the body as a sensation, a pull, a moment where you just know. And in that knowing, there is peace. This is not the peace that comes from control, but the kind that flows when control is surrendered. At the same time, Pluto, your ruling planet, has just gone direct. You, more than anyone, understand the depths of Pluto. You know how it tears down what no longer serves and rebuilds from sacred ashes. For weeks or even months, you may have felt like your life was in an emotional cocoon, heavy, internal, isolated. But now, the shell begins to crack, not with violence but with intention. What emerges is not just a new version of you, it's a version that is truer. A version that has been tested by silence and shaped by truth. Pluto moving forward doesn't demand urgency, it brings clarity. You no longer need to guess what's crumbling or what's calling. You can feel it now, rising in your own marrow. There is something powerful about the thinness of the veil today. And when I say veil, I don't mean a supernatural barrier. I mean the layer between what you think you need to be and who you actually are underneath all the coping, performing, and hiding. That veil becomes transparent under this sky. It's the reason why your emotions feel more exposed, why memories return uninvited, why beauty stings just as much as it heals. Because the divine isn't speaking from above, it's stirring from within. You might find yourself in a quiet moment today, alone perhaps, but not lonely. You may look out a window and feel the air itself pressing gently against your skin as if the universe is trying to touch you back. You may hear a lyric in a song that feels like it was written from the inside of your chest. These aren't accidents. These are alignments. And on days like this, alignment is the invitation to awareness. Not everything will make sense. But what matters will resonate. The way the ocean does, even when we can't see where it ends. Think of September 28th as a spiritual window, not wide open, but cracked just enough to let the light in. Not every moment is meant for grand decisions or final conclusions. Some are meant to simply awaken. And that is what this day offers you. It's not asking you to act. It's asking you to feel. To listen. To remember. To trust that even when you're still, the universe is not. That even when you're quiet, God is not. And so, this is your sacred permission to pause. Not to disconnect but to connect more deeply. With yourself. With your breath. With your faith. With the part of you that knows without needing evidence that the season of waiting is nearing its end. The path is being cleared. Not in chaos, but in kindness. Not with fireworks, but with presence. And if you've been weary, that's okay. Because restoration doesn't come to those who have it all together, it comes to those who are willing to soften. This is that kind of day, Scorpio. Let it work through you. Let it whisper truth. And let it be enough. When the noise of the world fades, even for just a moment, what remains is not silence, its presence. Scorpio, you've likely felt this before, in the quiet of the early morning when your chest feels full without knowing why, or in the late-night stillness when a memory brushes against your thoughts like a breeze that knows your name. These are not coincidences. These are the subtle movements of the unseen, a loving force surrounding you with more precision and devotion than your mind can fully grasp. Many of you may have noticed patterns that don't feel random. Seeing the number 111 repeatedly, glancing at the clock at 9:28 without planning to, or hearing a song from years ago that suddenly feels like it was written from your own story. You may smell a fragrance that no longer exists in your home, but it transports you instantly to a kitchen you haven't stood in since childhood, or a person whose voice still echoes in the corners of your memory. These experiences are sacred echoes. They are not signs in the way we often think of them as predictions or warnings. They are reminders. Gentle reminders that you are accompanied, deeply watched over, and never truly navigating this path alone. Energy does not disappear. It transforms, recycles, and communicates across dimensions. The people who once loved you, the ones whose physical presence may no longer be here, are often closer now than ever before. Their wisdom, their affection, and their essence live within you, surfacing at moments when you need grounding, reassurance, or simply the comfort of remembering where you come from. The same applies to the parts of you that have grown weary, the versions of yourself you thought you had to abandon in order to survive. They, too, are still speaking, still believing in your wholeness. In the realm of energy healing and spiritual alignment, we understand that protection doesn't always come in the form of defense. Sometimes it comes in the form of resonancy, a vibration that surrounds you, reminding you that your emotions are valid, your fatigue is understood, and your longing is not empty. You are being met where you are. Even when it feels like no one hears you, the resonance of your prayers, your sighs, and your sacred questions are gently moving through layers of reality and returning with unseen support. This invisible team around you, whether you call it your higher self, ancestral energy, or simply the intelligence of the universe, doesn't require a name to be real. Its presence can be felt in the quiet urge to keep going, in the moment you pause before giving up, in the message that arrives at the exact time your spirit begins to waver. You are being guided, not in dramatic signs or burning bushes, but in the ordinary grace of everyday synchronicity. Your emotions are not weaknesses, they are antennas. Your sensitivity is not a burden, it is a bridge. And Scorpio, your soul is built to detect what others overlook. That's not a flaw, it's a gift. So when you feel out of place in this world, remember, your radar is tuned for something more refined. You were never meant to only see the visible. In this exact moment, you are not alone. There is presence all around you, whispering through numbers, through songs, through fragments of scent and flashes of memory. Not because you need rescuing, but because you are deeply loved. Because the invisible world, despite its quiet, is always responding. Your part is not to decipher every sign. Your part is to stay open. To remain soft. To continue listening even when nothing seems to speak. Let this awareness settle in you like warm sunlight on your skin. You don't have to understand it all to feel it. You don't have to see proof to trust it. Sometimes, the most powerful healing happens not when we try to reach upward, but when we allow ourselves to be surrounded. You are surrounded, Scorpio. Let yourself be held. There are moments in our life when the message doesn't come as a whisper, it arrives like a full chord resonating through the soul, unmistakable in its clarity. Scorpio, this is one of those moments. The sacred trio of tarot cards, the Star, Judgment, and the world doesn't simply appear in your reading by chance. They rise like three wise messengers from the undercurrent of your emotional ocean, affirming that you have reached a spiritual intersection, a place where everything you've endured, questioned, survived, and even silently prayed for begins to realign. The star appears first, not as a wishful symbol, but as a radiant return of trust. After a long period of emotional drought or doubt, this card reminds you that renewal is not only possible, it's promised. In astrology, stars are ancient storytellers. They burn light years away and still guide the ships of now. That's what's happening inside you. The light that once dimmed is returning, not in a burst, but in a steady, reliable shimmer. You may not feel ready, but readiness isn't required for hope to rise. All that's needed is willingness, the willingness to believe that healing is already underway. Then comes judgment, often misunderstood as a warning or finality. But here, in this sacred sequence, it is your soul's alarm clock. It is the energy that says, you can no longer pretend not to hear the call. This card is less about consequences and more about clarity. It invites you to shed what is no longer authentic, to wake up from roles, beliefs, or burdens that were never truly yours to carry. Think of this card as the gentle but firm hand on your shoulder that says, it's time. And deep down, you know that it is. The final presence in this sacred trio is the world. Not just a conclusion, but a graduation. In the symbolic journey of the tarot, the world marks the final chapter and the fool's journey, a return to self, but with wisdom, scars, and sacred knowledge gathered along the way. This is not an ending to mourn. It is a wholeness to welcome. This card whispers that everything has served its purpose. Every delay, every silence, every test. And now, the cycle completes not in exhaustion, but in empowerment. It affirms, you are ready. Not perfect. Not fully certain. But ready in a way only a soul who has walked through shadow can be. In numerology, the number 3 represents the sacred triad: mind, body, spirit. When this trio of cards appears, it's often a sign that alignment is coming. These aspects of you are being drawn into union. You're no longer fragmented between who you were, who you want to be, and who you're afraid others won't accept. Integration is the medicine now. And the number 9, reflected in the energy of the world, marks completion. Not collapse, but conclusion, the elegant folding of one chapter so another may rise. This isn't about racing toward a goal or fixing what's broken. It's about honoring what is whole, even in its quietness. You are not unfinished. You are unfolding. Think of yourself as a painting. Yes, there have been storms across the canvas, rough textures, maybe even parts you wanted to cover up. But this moment, this day, this energy, it's the signature stroke. The one that doesn't just complete the image, it validates the journey. You don't need to add more. Just let it be seen. Let it be enough. So if you feel called to reflect today, do so not from a place of self-judgment, but from reverence. You've come far. These cards didn't come to warn you. They came to celebrate you. And in this moment, as the heavens align, as your energy stabilizes, as your inner world exhales, know this: what's arriving is not foreign, it's familiar. You are not stepping into the unknown. You are returning home. Sometimes, the greatest miracles don't arrive with fireworks or loud revelations, they show up in the quiet, in the soft exhale you didn't know you were holding. Scorpio, the blessing that is unfolding for you is not loud. It is not dramatic. It's a peace that is gentle, yet undeniable. A quiet restoration of your inner world. You may not wake up tomorrow with a winning lottery ticket or a windfall in your bank account, but you may wake up with a still mind, a calm body, and a feeling of safety in your own skin. That is a miracle too, perhaps the most sacred kind. In the practice of emotional healing and energy alignment, we understand that true abundance is never measured solely by money. Yes, financial support is a part of human security, and the universe does work through material channels. But deeper than that is the healing that allows your nervous system to rest, your breath to deepen, your thoughts to soften. When you can lay your head on the pillow and actually sleep, not just drift, but rest, that is the body's way of saying, I feel safe now. And safety is the soil where all blessings begin to bloom. You might not be looking for a miracle in the traditional sense. You might simply want relief from overthinking, from emotional fatigue, from the weight of pretending to be okay. You might want to feel clear again, light again, seen again. These longings are not small. They are echoes of the soul requesting return to self, to trust, to meaning. And as you open to that, the miracle unfolds. Maybe it will look like an unexpected message from someone whose absence once left a bruise. Maybe it will sound like laughter returning to your chest after a long silence. Maybe it will feel like forgiveness for them, but also for yourself. One of the most powerful teachings in self-healing is this: the moment you begin to forgive yourself, you begin to shift your vibration toward receptivity. Resentment, self-blame, and emotional suppression are like closed doors. They block the very flow you've been praying for. But forgiveness? It's a key. Not because it justifies the pain or excuses the past, but because it tells your nervous system and your spiritual field, I am ready to live again. This kind of healing isn't abstract. It is chemical, emotional, and spiritual. It changes your sleep patterns. It improves your digestion. It allows the heart to beat without the hidden flinch of fear. It is the healing that opens you to abundance, not by chasing, but by allowing. And in this particular season, Scorpio, that's exactly what you're being invited to do. Allow peace to be enough. Allow stillness to be powerful. Allow the absence of chaos to be your confirmation that you are on sacred ground. We often associate miracles with something grand, an opportunity, a solution, a yes from the world. But sometimes, the most miraculous thing is the absence of anxiety. The lifting of a weight that no one else saw you carrying. The return of clarity where there was confusion. You deserve all of that. And more. But it begins here, in the quiet moment you choose to stop waiting for peace, and instead allow yourself to receive it. So if tonight you sleep more deeply than usual, if tomorrow you wake with a softness in your chest, if a conversation flows easier than expected, know that it is not random. It is a sign that your energy is shifting, that your soul has said yes, and that this miracle, your miracle, already unfolding. Quietly, powerfully, in perfect time. Scorpio, you've carried burdens that others never even noticed. You've been the quiet strength behind many victories, not just your own, but of those who leaned on you when they didn't even realize it. This part of your journey is not about proving your worth, because that's already been done. It's about planting the golden seed of faith deep within your soul. Not faith as a desperate wish or blind hope, but as a quiet force that keeps your heart steady when everything around you feels like it's shifting. You've always had the soul of a survivor, but now you're being asked to step into the role of a believer, not in others, but in yourself. The truth is, faith is a choice, especially when the path ahead feels unclear. Faith means whispering, "I trust," even when there's no evidence, even when your emotions swing like a pendulum. It means believing that there is more being prepared for you than what you see now. And that belief? That's the golden soil where miracles grow. Not the flashy, overnight kind, but the enduring, soul-shifting kind. The type that rewrites timelines and quietly redirects entire destinies. Not because you fought harder, but because you believed longer. Think of the seed. Hidden in the darkness, it doesn't question the soil. It doesn't demand light before it's ready. It trusts the process. And when the time is right, it breaks open, not because it's broken, but because it's growing. Scorpio, that's you. You've been underground long enough. Now, heaven is sending water. Don't resist the shift just because it's unfamiliar. You don't have to control every outcome. You only have to nurture the faith you already carry. Let this be your gentle reminder: your silence was not weakness. It was sacred space where strength was born. And now, your resilience is being transformed into reward. There is grace in letting go of what you cannot fix. There is abundance in pausing before pushing. Sometimes, stillness is the most powerful movement of all. There is healing in drinking more water, in resting without guilt, in taking magnesium or zinc not as a fix but as an act of reverence for the temple your soul lives in. There is power in saying no to caffeine at night so you can finally sleep deeply, because you deserve that kind of peace. Professionally, now is not the time to chase approval. It's time to align with what aligns with you. Don't be afraid to walk away from the places where your spirit has been shrinking. True purpose doesn't beg to be noticed, that it magnetizes the right path. And financially, be wise, not reactive. The emotional spending you used to do as a bomb can now be replaced with short-term budgeting that reflects your long-term vision. You are not deprived, you are being recalibrated. And love? Speak from the realest place inside you. You don't have to be perfect. You only need to be honest. Vulnerability, when anchored in love, becomes a sacred invitation. Say what you mean, even if your voice shakes. Say it before it's too late. Faith is not noise. It's not drama. It's not public declarations. It's the silent yes you whisper to life even when life hasn't shown you a reason. It's the hand you keep open even when you've been empty-handed for far too long. This, Scorpio, is your invitation to believe, not because it's easy, but because it's time. If you felt this message in your spirit, leave a comment to affirm, "I choose to believe." Let your words be the seed. Let the universe hear your quiet yes. Because miracles aren't waiting to be earned, they're waiting to be accepted. Under the soft influence of Pluto, the ancient guardian of death, rebirth, and profound transformation, the energy of September 28th glows with sacred anticipation. Scorpio, you've walked through fires that others never see, and you know the quiet ache of waiting for divine timing to unfold. But tomorrow is not a day like any other. It is marked, sealed, and whispered into the stars, a day when what has been hidden will rise. A day when a celestial seal is placed upon a blessing uniquely meant for you. A blessing that is not random or delayed, but divinely timed and personally signed. Astrologically, Pluto is no longer in retrograde motion, and this turning forward signifies not just momentum, but divine alignment. When Pluto begins to move with us, not against us, it brings long-awaited completions and long-promised beginnings. For you, this may arrive as a phone call you've almost given up on, a new financial door quietly clicking open. It may show up as an unexpected even-tan intersection of destiny that was written for you long before you were ready to receive it. Or it could be as simple and seismic as a sincere apology, a soul unlocking itself so your heart can finally breathe again. But the invitation here is not to chase, to worry, or to control. The miracle is not summoned by effort, it is recognized by presence. When you stand still with your left hand over your heart, and your right hand on your solar plexus, you are not performing a ritual for drama or display. You are anchoring your physical body into divine reception. The breath 3 deep, intentional inhalations becomes the quiet doorway to the sacred now. And the words you speak, softly or with trembling certainty, carry the frequency of prophetic truth. You are no longer asking. You are claiming. Not because you are entitled, but because you are finally aligned. There is great power in words, especially when they are spoken from the heart, in alignment with the heavens. The declaration you've been given under the light of the star, "I hear the call of judgment," is not poetry for beauty's sake. It is a key. Each phrase corresponds to a card in the tarot's sacred journey: the star for hope and divine guidance, judgment for awakening and purpose, and the world for completion and fulfillment. When you say these words aloud, you are aligning your frequency with the cosmic forces represented by those archetypes. You are not just inviting miracles. You are becoming the vessel through which they can arrive. And if your heart still doubts, if the waiting has left you weary or skeptical, let me offer you this: faith is not the absence of fear, it is the choice to open anyway. In the rhythm of daily life, miracles often disguise themselves as emails, conversations, or a random encounter in a hallway. But when you are anchored in openness, you will recognize what others miss. You will feel the pulse of God's favor in the silence. You will know that tomorrow, a divine appointment has already been scheduled on your behalf. So take a breath, Scorpio. Rest not in expectation, but in knowing. The seal has been set. The message has been sent. The miracle is en route. If this resonates with the stirring in your spirit, comment below to declare it: "I receive my miracle tomorrow as a work of God." Your affirmation not only anchors your intention but activates the collective current of belief flowing through this sacred space. You are not alone, and you are not forgotten. You are seen. You are chosen. And this blessing is already yours. What if the miracle you've been waiting for is already here, only quieter, softer, less dramatic than you imagined? What if it arrived not in the form of a lottery win or a thunderous sign from the sky, but in the stillness of your heart after a long night of rest, in the breath you just took, in the message you haven't opened yet, in the way your soul just whispered, "I'm ready"? Peace, dear soul, is not the absence of chaos, it's the presence of wholeness. And sometimes, the greatest wealth the universe gives us is the inner alignment that comes before anything shifts externally. When your nervous system feels safe again, when your breath deepens without effort, when you stop scanning the room for what's about to go wrong, that is the jackpot. That's the moment the cosmic vaults begin to unlock. And all it takes is one gentle act to signal to the universe, I'm available. Maybe it's clearing off your desk. Maybe it's lighting a candle with intention. Maybe it's writing a short thank you to someone who stood by you in silence. These are not random chores, they are energetic alignments. When you move with sacred intention, heaven notices. So I ask you, beloved viewer of Miracle of the Sign, what action, no matter how small, can you take today to prepare for the blessing you've prayed for? Can you open a drawer and release what no longer fits your future? Can you bless your home with the vibration of gratitude? Can you speak words of forgiveness into the mirror, even if your voice shakes? These aren't rituals for the sake of doing something. They are sacred acts of declaration. They say to the universe, I'm no longer surviving, I'm participating in the miracle. What if you dared to believe that your financial breakthrough has already begun? In the moment you chose to believe you're worthy of it? What if peace is the real prize and everything else is just the overflow? As someone who has walked with thousands through shadow and light, I tell you this gently but firmly, you are not watching this by accident. You didn't land here because of coincidence. This is a sacred checkpoint in your journey. And from this moment forward, you no longer walk alone. So, if something stirred within you today, if even one sentence rang true, I invite you to anchor this energy. Type your affirmation in the comments. Declare your intention. Speak your worth. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay with us here at Miracle of the Sign, where faith meets healing and miracles are never just stories, they are your next chapter. Now, tell me, what tiny act of alignment will you take today to show the heavens that you are ready? And remember, you are not just blessed. You are chosen. And tomorrow you'll start to see why.